Welcome back to the channel, folks. This is Jason, certified financial planner, host of Fighting Words Financial, and today I wanted to talk to you about Xpeng stock. I wanted to tell you kind of what my plans are regarding the stock that I own, what I plan to do here in the near future, and what my opinion is on the company. Now, if you've been following my channel for quite some time, then you know that I've kind of been on the Xpeng bandwagon for quite some time. Did my first video on them back in, I think, November of last year. So just about a year ago, and it was my best performing video until recently, right? So, by the way, that reminds me, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel and you're watching this video and you like what you see, think about subscribing. Also, think about my Patreon when you get a chance. It's a great community of really smart folks. In fact, I'm having somebody from my Patreon group on a live stream later on today. Anyway, back to Xpeng. So it's November. It's getting close to the end of the year. I'm starting to reevaluate my 5-year and 10-year plan, as I do every year towards the end of the year, because that's the time that I start thinking about tax loss harvesting and whether or not I want to do it. The problem is, for the last 2 years, of course, there's basically no losses in anyone's portfolio. It's been a bit of an aberration in terms of the market, so I don't have a lot to do in terms of tax loss harvesting. So I'm thinking a lot about where I'm going to put my money going in the future. And I want to bet on the wave of new electric vehicle adoption that's going on in China right now and is looking to continue for a decade. They're saying right now in Chinese press that by the end of 2022, up to 20% of vehicles sold in China will be new energy vehicles, meaning they're either hydrogen electric vehicles, they're either battery electric vehicles, or they're going to be hybrid vehicles of something, of some sort, right? So they are way ahead of us in terms of adoption, right? Now they have a let's just say they have a much wider thoroughfare in which to drive that type of buying, because not as many people have cars in in China as in the United States, and also they have some pretty massive incentives to buy a new energy vehicle. Most of those have to do with licensing. For example, if you want to get a license plate for your car in most of the major cities in China, it's absolutely free. But if you want to get a license plate for an internal combustion engine vehicle in some of the major cities, you have to go to an auction to get it, and it can be anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000. That is much more of an incentive for most people than the government incentives that are offered through tax credits, right? So, and if you don't believe me, just Google it. It's out there. You can see the auctions for yourself, where there's news articles written about the auctions, to get a license plate for your vehicle in Shanghai. It's 15,000 bucks. So giant incentive to adopt an EV right there. So I'm thinking to myself about the Chinese market and the stocks that we have available to us right now, trading in the US on US exchanges. So BYD is not on US exchanges, but you can, not directly, but you can buy it over the counter. That's a great stock. We have Li Auto, we have Xpeng, we have NIO, and we have Geely that's also traded OTC, and probably a couple of other companies as well. The problem with our perception of those companies here in the US is the press that we have access to. So one of the points that I've made over and over and over on my channel, or at least tried to imply, is that NIO is far more popular in the United States than it is in China. Far more people have heard of NIO in the United States because of trading culture than in China because of the actual vehicles that are sold. Not only that, they're targeting a market that is a bit more upscale than some of their competitors, and that is one of the reasons why I'm probably going to stop buying NIO shares. I kind of had to stop buying NIO shares anyway, because they ended up being more than 10% of my net worth, just because I bought a lot for a little. The price exploded, and it really wasn't a plan, right? I didn't plan for the price to explode like that, but it became more than 10% of my net worth. And last year in December already, I had to trim. It took me about a month and a half, but I had to trim some of my my holdings, and by the end of February, I had trimmed a little bit of it. But anyway, I'm probably not going to add too much more because I have enough, but I am going to be adding Xpeng. Xpeng has had similar performance for the past couple of months. It's tended to lag NIO in terms of price, which doesn't really matter, folks. And I don't understand this. Like, I've been talking about Xpeng for a long time, and every time I make a video about Xpeng and Xpeng's price dips below NIO, inevitably somebody either emails me or mentions in the comments, like, what about Xpeng, Jason? And saying something about the price being lower. Price of the stock doesn't matter compared to another stock, it really only matters in comparison to a number of different factors which give you the value for which you're paying, right? So the fact that, Apple is worth $1,000 a share and some other, cell phone company, well, that's a really terrible example. But there are plenty of examples out there where the stock for one company in the same industry is worth $500, the stock for another company in the same industry is worth $50. It doesn't mean that one stock in particular is more valuable than another. What it means is relative to earnings, relative to, the number of factories they have, relative to the number of sales they have. That's what matters in terms of price. So Xpeng has never really been that far behind NIO in terms of units sold, right? And now they're starting to surpass NIO. Last month was an aberration, of course. NIO shut down their factories to retool. They're increasing their capacity. But NIO is hamstrung a little bit by their relationship with JAC Motors, which is a state-owned enterprise. I don't know why so many people in the United States are so positive about government involvement in a business. Yes, it's a giant injection of capital, but you're also dealing with institutional inertia when you involve people who work for a government-owned enterprise. What most people don't know about the history, most investors here in the US don't know about the history of China, is that China used to have all kinds of state-owned enterprises that were an absolute mess. They were disasters. And it wasn't until the era of the Township and Village enterprise, or were called TVEs back in the 1980s, that a new entrepreneurial class emerged. And the people that emerged out of those TVE projects are the entrepreneurs that you see now, like William Li Bin and He Xiaopeng and all these people. They came from some of those projects. They cut their teeth there. But those were projects that were left up to these smaller towns, villages, smaller cities. They were left alone without government interference, and they learned how to do business on their own, right? Those people now form the basis of the entrepreneurial class in China. They're all in their 50s and mid 50s to mid 60s at this point. So what I'm saying is, though, is that NIO is a bit hamstrung by this relationship. It is onerous. They do have to pay a per vehicle fee for the cars that they produce. And I don't believe that they can respond, that a state-owned enterprise where employees don't worry about getting fired can really respond quickly enough to innovation and changes in the industry. I applaud NIO for doing what they have done. I think they've done a really good job of emulating many of the things that Tesla is doing. I think that battery swapping is a great solution for the next 5-10 years until we have battery technology or infrastructure changes in China that make battery swapping obsolete. There's a whole mathematical reason why that's probably not going to work in the future, and I can go into that in another video. But what I'm saying is that NIO is hamstrung by a number of different relationships and a couple of strategies that they've pursued, and I think that they really want to become that premium brand anyway. It doesn't mean they're not going to be successful. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a great stock. But I think Xpeng is not just surpassing it now, but that gulf is going to get wider and wider and wider over time, largely because they're one of the first companies to have stepped into the mass market. And let's be clear here, the mass market in China is where the action is. It is so freaking large. So it doesn't matter if NIO can sell 500,000 really expensive cars in a year. Yeah, they're still going to be very, very important. I think they can export cars outside of China and do very, very well too. But Xpeng has the potential because of their targeting of the mass market, and they're already there, folks. We can take a look at what they've done here in the last month or so, and I'll point out to you that we are just at the very beginning of seeing Xpeng start to produce more and more and more, and pretty soon they're going to be one of the top players there. So they just have, a lot of people don't realize they have 2 smart factories that are set to open up next year, second quarter and fourth quarter of next year. Each one of these factories has another, 150 to 200,000 unit capacity annually. And their vehicle lineup is set to expand as well with additional models. But anyway, let's take a look here just for a second at what I'm talking about. So I want to look here at Gasco Automotive News. Like I said, we get data here and information that's a bit biased, and a lot of folks don't ever read anything that doesn't come across mainstream media. So this is a website that translates a lot of there are original articles written in English, and there are a lot of articles that are written by Chinese people in China and translated into English. But let's take a look at this. Xpeng's October deliveries amount to 10,138 units, and I think that NIO's were somewhere around the 4,000 range. Not tremendously important because, like I said, NIO is retooling their factory, but it was a 233% year-on-year rise, surpassing the 10,000 unit mark for the second month in a row. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Of course, you're seeing the overall trend of this of production. They keep rising, even though they have serious issues with supply chain right now, just like everyone does. This moment here down in February when deliveries were cut to almost nothing. That's, of course, Chinese New Year. We're going to see another one of those probably February this year where deliveries absolutely get crushed. If you're waiting around to invest in Xpeng or NIO or Li Auto, that's probably a really good time to do it. Do it in March when they report February numbers, because they're going to get crushed again because of Chinese New Year. All right, and of course because of supply chain issues. Supply chain issues are not permanent, folks. I don't know how long they're going to last, but they're not going to last forever, okay? So the big story here is in the numbers behind the numbers when it comes to Xpeng. In October, there were 6,044 customers taking delivery of P7s, representing 187% year-on-year hike. That's still about 40% away from, it's about 60% away from their production capacity at their one factory with the P7, and they have a second factory coming online later on this year. So that vehicle is priced at around $33,000 to $34,000 kind of beginning here. And monthly deliveries of the G3, which is their SUV, hit new highs of 3,657 units. So that's a really small SUV priced anywhere from $18,000 to $24,000. So really a mass market vehicle. It's one of the earlier models. It's a little bit less technologically advanced. The P7 is a lot more technologically advanced here. But the G3 model is a very good entry-level vehicle for a lot of Chinese families. The Xpeng said the delivery volume of the G3i was continuously growing since the midterm facelift scale delivery started in September. So they updated the G3 and they've included a few new things in there, and it is selling a little bit better. But here's the big news here. Besides, the Guangdong EV-based EV startup also delivered 437 P5s last month. The P5 is really their first mass market sedan, and that's what's important. The middle class, the real middle class in China really kind of starts at the people who can afford the P5, not the P7, not any of NIO's models, but we're looking at sub $25,000 vehicles. I think that the best selling, for a couple of months, the best selling electric vehicle in China was the Wuling Mini EV, priced at like $4,000 to $5,000, had a range of like 100 miles, could go about 80 miles an hour. They were selling 40,000, or at least taking reservations for 40,000 units a month at one point. I think that the P5, they just started deliveries in September. This number is just going to grow and grow and grow. And once supply chain issues are figured out, this number is going to explode. So for the first 10 months of this year, Xpeng has delivered 66,542 new vehicles, posting a year-over-year surge of 289%, which I think is absolutely amazing. And by October of 2021, the startup had seen its cumulative deliveries, meaning deliveries for the entire history of the country, hit 100,000 units. That number is also only going to grow at this point. And as for the expansion of the energy supply network, Xpeng has built 439 supercharging stations in 121 cities by the end of September of this year. Not only that, China, just like the United States, has a number of third-party players in terms of charging. They also share a network with NIO in terms of supercharging. NIO is not 100% committed to battery swapping. They also have a supercharging network. And it looks like there's a couple of different app services you can use in China that will direct you to different places where you can supercharge your vehicle based on the type of vehicle you have. It's all app-driven through your phone, unlike RFID-driven, with Tesla. So, very interesting things are happening with Xpeng, and I think that that is only going to grow in the future, like I said, because they got to the mass market first. They're going to have, and they've developed this culture of, owning a vehicle that's affordable and yet still has tons of bells and whistles. It's luxurious, and it is, really advanced in terms of technology, and they've targeted a much younger market than NIO has as well. Not saying what NIO is doing isn't great. What I'm saying is that selling more vehicles with a great margin is to a much larger market, and being the first one to get there is going to help in terms of their overall expansion. NIO, on the other hand, they're looking at putting out the ET7 later on this year. That's a $70,000 vehicle. I know that they have several models in development right now for the mass market. We don't know when that's going to happen. The battery technology that they announced back in January that I was really, really excited about, we strangely have not heard a lot about at this point, their supposed solid state battery or their semi-solid state battery. So I don't know if that is real or not, or if that was vaporware, but a lot of reasons to be excited about the market in general in terms of China's new energy vehicles. We're really looking at a rising tide lifting all boats type of situation. The adoption of new energy vehicles in China is just going so quickly, and that I think that almost every company is going to benefit. Don't forget some of these other players like Geely, like BYD, like a number of other companies. There's at least 100 different companies in China that are supposed to have electric vehicles in production and selling by next year. So if we take a look at just the front page of Gaskew's Automotive News, Geely's premium EV brand Zeekr delivers nearly 200 Zeekr 001s within only 1 week. And this is sort of their luxury brand. GAC Group invests in Holomatic C1 round cooperative. So they're investing in China's autonomous driving solution startup Holomatic, right? FedEx teams up with Neolix for autonomous delivery vehicle test in China. NIO supplier's latest battery swapping products allow unattended self-service. No one needs to be there. So all kinds of things. Cherry Auto completes 200,000 annual. I don't know what that means. Anyway, Volkswagen sells 12,736 Chinese-made ID vehicles in October. So there's tons going on in the Chinese market that we don't hear about because of the bias in our media. Anyway, that's sort of my thesis here for why Xpeng and why now. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please check out my Patreon if you get a chance. It's only $5 a month, and it can help you get your investment knowledge to that next level. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.